Here's a hard truth: most people aren't ready to hear. 95% of people will never achieve the life they truly want. Not because they're not smart, not because they're not talented, but because they fall into patterns that guarantee mediocrity. Meanwhile, the top 5% operate on a completely different level mentally, emotionally, and strategically. They don't live life on autopilot. They build it, command it, and dominate it. But here's the real question. Why do so many stay stuck, even when they want more? Today on Growth Mindset Success, we're pulling back the curtain on why the vast majority of people fail, and why a rare few rise above and win. If you're tired of settling and ready to join the 5%, this is your wake-up call and your turning point. The comfort trap. Most people trade potential for familiarity. Comfort is a silent killer of dreams. The 95% stay where it feels easy, predictable, and safe. They convince themselves that someday they'll chase what they really want. But what if someday never comes? Meanwhile, the 5% actively reject comfort. They run toward discomfort because they understand that growth only exists outside the comfort zone. They'd rather fail at building something meaningful than succeed at staying small. Comfort feels good in the moment, but what if it's the very thing stealing your future? The successful break out by choosing challenge over convenience every single time. Lack of vision. When you can't see the target, you never hit it. Most people are drifting, not driving. They have no crystal clear vision of who they want to be, what they want to achieve, or where they're going. So they move in circles, working hard, staying busy, but making no real progress. But what happens when you hustle without direction? You burn out with nothing to show for it. The 5% have vision. Not vague goals or wishes, but sharp, specific, unshakable clarity. They've defined success on their own terms and revisit that vision daily. If you don't know exactly where you're headed, how will you ever know if you're on the right path? Vision isn't a luxury, it's a requirement. No self-discipline. Talent without discipline is wasted potential. The 95% often rely on motivation, waiting to feel like it before taking action. But what happens when motivation disappears? Most people stall. The 5% rely on discipline. They build habits and systems that produce results whether they feel like it or not. While most are scrolling, sleeping in, or procrastinating, the 5% are working quietly, consistently, relentlessly. Here's something to think about. If your future depends on your discipline, how strong is your safety net? Talent might open the door, but discipline is what keeps you in the room. Fear of judgment. Seeking approval is the fastest route to failure. Why do most people never take big risks? Why don't they start that business, launch that idea, or go all in on their dreams? Simple. They're afraid of what others will think. But here's the twist: what if the opinions you're afraid of are from people who've never dared to chase their own dreams? The 95% stay small so they won't be criticized. But the 5% know that success requires standing out, even if it means being misunderstood or doubted. They stop seeking permission and start trusting themselves. You cannot build a remarkable life if you're addicted to approval. The successful choose self-respect over external validation every single time. Distractions and digital poison. The battle for your focus is already happening. We live in the most distracted era in human history. Endless notifications, clickbait, and scrolling, all designed to hijack your focus and rewire your brain. The 95% fall victim to it daily. Their attention is scattered, their energy drained, their goals postponed. But the 5%, they treat their focus like a fortress. Ask yourself if your attention is the price. Who's buying it every time you pick up your phone? Focus is now a superpower. If you can control your attention, you can control your results. If not, if this message is hitting home and you're serious about joining the 5%, take a second to like this video, subscribe to Growth Mindset Success, and let us know in the comments which one of these truths are you ready to face head-on. Your answer might inspire someone else. Blaming, complaining, and excuses. The language of the powerless. The 95% blame their circumstances, their upbringing, the economy, everything except themselves. But blaming is easy. The question is, does it ever change anything? The 5% take full ownership. They understand that responsibility equals power. Even when it's not their fault, they still make it their responsibility. What if the only thing standing between you and your breakthrough is your excuses? Complaining drains energy. Ownership creates solutions. If you want to win, stop explaining why you're stuck and start creating your exit strategy. Fear of failure. Playing it safe is the most dangerous game. Most people would rather not try than try and fail. But what they don't realize is avoiding failure is the fastest way to guarantee regret. The 5% don't fear failure, they use it. They fail fast, learn faster, and keep moving. To them, every failure is data, not defeat. They understand that behind every massive success is a graveyard of failed attempts. Here's a question worth asking. What if your greatest success is hiding behind the very failure you're avoiding? Short-term gratification. The addiction that kills long-term potential. The average person is addicted to instant pleasure scrolling, binging, quick dopamine hits. They want results now without the work. But the 5% think differently. They delay gratification. They play the long game. Would you trade short-term comfort for long-term freedom? Because the 5% do daily. They're not chasing quick wins. They're building a legacy. And the longer you can delay gratification, the greater your impact becomes. Lack of identity shift. You can't outperform the way you see yourself. Here's a hidden truth. Most people stay stuck because they never upgrade their identity. They still see themselves as average, unworthy, or not that kind of person. And even with all the goals in the world, they keep falling back into the same habits. Why? Because identity is the ceiling of transformation. The 5% rewire who they are. They act as the future version of themselves until it becomes real. If you see yourself as small, you'll always play small no matter how big your goals are. Change the image, and you'll change the outcome. The environment equation. Who you're around is who you'll become. The 95% spend their time in environments that reward mediocrity. Friends who reinforce bad habits, spaces that kill ambition, conversations that shrink dreams. But the 5% are intentional. They design their environment to force their evolution. They seek out mentors, networks, and ecosystems that challenge their standards. Here's something to reflect on. Who in your life is stretching you, and who's slowly shrinking your future? The fastest way to change your life is to change your surroundings. The 5% know this and act on it. Now you know the truth. The difference between the 95% who fail and the 5% who succeed isn't luck, it's mindset, discipline, focus, and identity. The only question is, which side will you choose? You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be willing. Willing to be uncomfortable. Willing to take ownership. Willing to rise. You've been watching Growth Mindset Success. If this message lit a fire inside you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. What shift are you making today? Because your breakthrough begins the moment you stop settling.